Hi everyone, this is Ashley with Marsh Flower Studio. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how I make this kind of different pattern of a pumpkin that I do. I've got two different ways that I make pumpkins for Halloween and Thanksgiving decorations. So this is the second way. If you like the video, click the little like button, subscribe so you can see other videos that I make. If there's anything that you would like to see me make, pop it in the comments and I'll see what I can do. To get started, these little pumpkins are very easy to make. They're worked in turning rows instead of a continuous round shape. And then you don't have to worry about kind of sewing or embroidering the stripes later because it already has those nice little ridges to it. So for this one, just use any color yarn that you would like your pumpkin to be. Remember, gourds come in different colors, so you can do them yellow, green, white, any combination of those colors. You can get creative with the shapes of them as well. And don't forget that you can always make them in the colors that match your particular decor. I've done some that are like white and gray and kind of a smoky, dusty blue, and those are some of my favorite colors. So we're going to do a chain to begin with. And for your chain, it doesn't have to be exactly the same number that I do, and I'll explain that in just a second. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, for my pumpkin, I'm going to do 20. This will give me a little bit shorter of a pumpkin. I like the ones that are a little short and cute myself. You can make this longer and definitely make a much bigger one. Just keep in mind that your pumpkin is going to curve in at the top and the bottom. Okay, so this pumpkin was probably more like 25 chains to begin with. And when you shape it like we do, they do flatten out some. So this is not the height of your pumpkin, okay? You have to remember that it's going to be wrapped around the top and wrapped around the bottom. And the same thing for going around, and I can show you guys that in just a second. So this is very simple. The first row, we're just going to yarn over and go through that second chain on the hook and do a half double. And we're going to do half doubles all the way across in each stitch. Oops. Almost there. Our background noise, as always, is brought to you by my tiny tornado toddlers. When we get to the end of the row, we'll chain 1 and turn. And for this row and all of the rest of the rows, when you do your half double, you're going to go back loop only. and that's what gives it that nice kind of ribbed texture. So back loop only, all the way down, chain 1 and turn. And you'll just do back and forth rows until you have it the length that you would like for it to be. I've got one already worked here. So you can hit pause for a minute while you get your rows worked and then join us back, or you can just watch how these are finished and then continue working on yours. So this one has 23 rows currently. And I want to show you real quick, if I had stopped when I thought my pumpkin should end, which is probably about here. If I fold it in half, I'm kind of okay with the size of this for my pumpkin, but you have to keep in mind that it is going completely around and not just being flat. So that would be a really skinny pumpkin if I left it that way. So I added a few more extra rows. So now when I curl it around, it's a much nicer size for my little pumpkin. Okay, so I'm going to take, and you can do chain,
Wind's starting to blow a little.
and a slip stitch. We have a pretty big storm system coming through for today and tomorrow. So do slip stitches. You could also do single crochets if you prefer. You can get really fancy and just do front loops or back loops. Really up to you how you want to, oh my gracious, finish it. Okay. Get to the end. I've already cut my yarn, so I'm just going to pull this through. And I'm going to use a slightly larger yarn needle for this project because I know I've got some nice large holes to work with. So I'm going to take and just kind of go back and forth between some of these rows right here on the edge. And it doesn't have to be perfect. We'll pull some of that through and keep going. And just a few more here. So I'm going to go past where I started, and that just for me helps make things a little bit more tight down here at the bottom and closed in. So we'll pull that nice and tight. I usually kind of try to tuck it up inside a little bit. so it's not just pooching down. I'm going to take and make a little bit of a knot here just to kind of help hold this in place. Whoop. And because there's not a right side or a wrong side here, if you don't want this little rib to show where you did your single crochets or your slip stitches, you can turn it to where that's on the inside. Okay, so now that I have this, I'm going to take and just lightly kind of weave this yarn up through that seam area. Not every stitch, but I also don't want it to be right in the center of the pumpkin. So we'll get up to the top here, and we're going to do the same thing we did to the bottom. We're going to go around this edge, just kind of in and out of these top rows. And we'll go all the way around. Almost back to the beginning here. And again, I'll go right to the other side of where I started. Okay. So I need to stuff this. And again, as much stuffing as is your preference. Just keep in mind if you stuff it too full, especially when using the half double crochets, you might end up with some spots where you can see through your stitches and see that stuffing. Some of these things take way more stuffing than you think they would. I need just a little bit more, I think, on this side. There we go. That's better. Okay, so now I just have to pull the top tight, like so. Now I use this extra string from my start to tie a nice little knot here. Do a nice little square knot to close that in. So there's my little pumpkin. You can take the yarn that you still have left over and go down through the center of your pumpkin. And then choose a spot kind of anywhere on this outside, as long as you're going back through the actual stitching rows and not just back through that center hole. When you do that, you can kind of shape a little bit better how flat your pumpkin is. if you want to have that bottom section kind of pulled up into your pumpkin a little bit more, that's how you would do that. It kind of pulls the top down inside a little bit as well. And then you can just use that same beginning string. Just pop another little knot right in there. For the stem on this guy, there's a couple different ways you can make it. You can do a surface crochet to the top right here, just picking out some stitches to start making that circle, and then do some single crochets to build it up. You can make it separate and then sew it to the top, so it's completely up to you. I've done it both ways. This one was done using some of the surface crochets, where I just crocheted straight to the tops of some of those ridges all the way around. And then you work it just like a tube. You do single crochets until it's as tall as you want it to be, work a couple decreases to make it a little bit smaller towards the very end, and then fasten it off. And you can leave the end of the stem open, or you can sew it shut, completely up to you. But that's how we make these little pumpkins. So don't forget to like and subscribe. If there is anything that you would like to see me make in the future, pop it in the comments. I love seeing the comments that some of you guys have already made. Thank you very much for those. It's very encouraging. And I'll see you next time.